Hi everyone, it's Nick. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, in today's video, we are going to be talking about 5 interior design trends that will fail in real life. These are interior design trends that I see being really popular right now, and I just don't think that they're going to make sense for people actually in real life. They might make sense for the celebrities that put them in. They might seem cool and quirky and weird and fun, but in reality, they're just not gonna make sense. Either they're impractical, or they're stupid, or they're ugly, and people will come to their senses eventually. But until then, these are, you know, trendy, I guess. People like to do stupid things in their homes. That's what I generally do and like to talk about on the internet. Not complaining, I made a career out of it. But these are just trends that I don't think you should really consider in your home because they're just stupid. So let's get going. Okay, so this first popular design trend will not fail because it is both beautiful and it involves intuitive design. As an interior design enthusiast, my love of design extends not just to beautiful home aesthetics, but also to the tech products that I use, namely also today's sponsor, which is the Opera browser. I love using the Opera One R2 because it allows you to completely customize your browser's look and feel with it in terms of different themes which you can use, like the classic, the Aurora, and also the Midsummer. You can choose which kind of colors you like and their intensity levels or how animated you want the background to be so that it's not super crazy and it's just really relaxing and actually enjoyable to use. You can even pick your background music, your browser sounds, and if you prefer to just put on your music like I do, then you can hover over the player icon and you can control your music without ever having to leave the tab, which is great. Opera One R2 also offers new tab capabilities, like you got split screen, which is great when I'm prepping videos for the channel, so you can kind of organize everything as you please. They also have an in-browser AI tool called Aria, which is super helpful when prepping videos as I don't have to open up a new tab to do things like searches, which is great. And if I'm struggling to find an image that matches what I'm saying, I can use the Aria AI image feature to create one for me. So if you want to switch over to the Opera One browser, check out the link in my description. Thanks to Opera for sponsoring today's video and supporting channels like mine and also building beautifully designed products. Now let's look at some trends that won't last much longer. Okay, first up on my list is going to be Fridgescaping. This is like landscaping, but for your fridge. This is, God, you know what? When TikTok was banned for just a really short amount of time there in the US, and I just thought like, but where are people going to take their stupid ideas and to do around their house and put them out into the world? Like, where are they going to do that? On Instagram? You know what I mean? It's too focused on aesthetics over there. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. But TikTok is where people's weird fever dreams come to life, and Fridgescaping is one of them. If you're not familiar with Fridgescaping, here's what people are doing. Well, some people, probably 5 people, and then we're just blowing it up and making it seem like it's a thing. But like, there's a Fridgescaping community on TikTok of people that actually do this in their homes. Basically, it's creating a aesthetically beautiful fridge. And this is sometimes, I think this is less about just strict organization, which I also think is impractical, but at least like admirable. Do you know what I mean? Where people like have their little section for their eggs and they like organize and they like have their thing with the little plastic containers they buy on Amazon. Do you know what I mean? Like we see that a lot. This is a little bit different. This is about designing a theme. It could be Lord of the Rings themed. It could be country themed. It could be, you know, farmhousey themed, and you actually don't even just have to put in food. You can actually put in decor in your fridge to accent. So this is not just a well-organized fridge, which again, there's all these people that pretend they live like this full time. You know who you are, we see you on Instagram, and it's like not real life, but that's a different story. But Fridgescaping is less about being just super organized and more about creating a scene or a theme inside your fridge. Why do I think this trend will fail? Obviously, because this is not what a fridge is supposed to be for, and it's impractical and people don't live this way. If you are single and you plan on staying single because no one's going to date you if you're Fridgescaping, okay, that slipped out. That's not fair. That's not fair to, but it's maybe accurate. But let's say you have children or you have a spouse who is not into Fridgescaping. There is no way in hell you're gonna get somebody and you're gonna convince children to actually participate in this stupid Fridgescaping ordeal. This is just not gonna happen. No one's gonna jump in and assist you on your cry for help. No one's gonna do that. So really, I think if you're single and you wanna stay that way and you enjoy this, keep doing it. Enjoy the hashtag Fridgescaping in the TikTok section and, you know, have fun. But this is not a practical trend that anybody's gonna actually participate in for any great length of time. Eventually, if you're that person, and you're probably not, but if you're that person, there will come a day when you're the only damn person alive that is Fridgescaping anymore because everybody else has given up. Because either their partner complained complained, their kids complained, and they just got frustrated. It's hard enough to like throw out expired freaking condiments in your fridge. Who has time to create a scene? I just want to know who has the time. I could make the time, but I choose not to with this trend because it's stupid. Okay, next up on my list is going to be accent stairs. So, you know, that one was dumb. This one might have the makings of being a decent trend, but it will fail for several reasons. So what is an accent stair? Well, you've heard of an accent wall, right? Which is, let's take a random wall in our home and just paint it a different color to make it seem like interesting and fun and quirky and weird. I don't always love an accent wall. By always, I mean, I generally always hate an accent wall. I would say there's some decent applications. Like I think a feature wall is different. Like if you're going to actually create a focal point in your space and you want to wallpaper it, or you want to put some sort of wood slats, or you want to put some sort of moldings, or like that's different. Like that's different, that's a focal point. An accent wall to me feels a little bit more random, a little bit more haphazard, right? And there's not a whole lot of rhyme or reason or purpose to the design. You're just sort of putting it in there for fun. You're just like picking a color and going, we're doing a red wall over here because that's fun for me. This accent stair thing feels less thought through, like a focal point, and instead more random. So this is where people take a random step in their staircase, usually near the bottom, usually it's the last couple of steps, and they'll do some different material. So instead of doing like the wood staircase where you'd have like, you know, the wood riser and blah, 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 like you've done the, you know, engineered hardwood, it might match your flooring, whatever, you know, you might do that. And there's different style staircases out there, of course, but in doing that, you're also just changing up and adding an extra couple of materials, usually a marble or some sort of stone, to sort of, you know, to make it a little bit quirky and a little bit different. And that is the accent staircase. Sometimes it's the landing, sometimes it's, you know, the last couple of steps. I don't think this is gonna make sense because it just looks weird. It looks weird, and it looks like you kind of just like made a mistake. Like it looks like you ran out of material, and so you decided to throw in an accent stair. Oops, rather than just buying a bunch of new flooring, instead I just opted to take some old stone that fell off the back of the countertop van, and I decided to throw that on my steps instead. Plus, I feel like this feels like a hazard. Do you know what I mean? Like, is there ever a time when you like step on something, you step on a stair, but it's, you know, like a further way down than you thought it was going to be? Like you thought it was gonna be a shallow step and it wasn't. You nearly like double over and duck and roll. That's the kind of situation that I anticipate going to happening with the change of material. If someone is not used to your home, if someone, whatever, if it's dark out, you're gonna forget that it's there. Someone is gonna trip and fall down this thing because it's a different material. It's gonna feel weird, but you're not gonna think that it's gonna be different because you're a normal person, and you're gonna assume the entire staircase is made of the same material. So you're gonna be just stepping like a normal person, you're gonna be going down the stairs, and you're gonna think it's gonna be engineered hardwood, and then all of a sudden you step on a piece of marble, and surprise, it's gonna be slippery and you're gonna fall flat on your face. So this is, not only does it feel like it looks stupid, but it's also impractical and potentially unsafe as well. I just don't like this one. Pick a material. If you wanna do a stone staircase because you're opulent like that, go for it. Perhaps you're a Russian mobster and that feels like a good idea and you wanna do a whole marble staircase, great. Or do engineered hardwood if you're a normal person, or vinyl or whatever material you're using for the rest of your staircase. Pick one, go with that for the entire thing. You don't need to change it up. This is not an area where you just need to accent, okay? This is just an area where you can continue using the same material throughout the entire staircase. No one needs to do this. Okay, next trend that I think is going to fail in real life is going to be micro-sized lights. So I generally think that going a little bit bigger on your lighting is a good idea. So this is the opposite of that. So instead of picking sort of a standard light, instead you're picking something that is obviously, dare I say, comically too small. And that's some of the lights that I'm seeing, where people are choosing little tiny pendants that are maybe good for a bedside table and instead deciding to put it over a dining table, or instead deciding to put it over a bed or something like that. It's there to sort of make a statement, I guess. I don't know what it's saying though. I don't know how to buy the right light. I think that's all it's really saying to me. But I think to some people, it's sort of like, it's a choice. It's a choice. And I think that choosing a light that makes sense for the size, so you might have something that's like a half, it's over a dining table, for example, you might choose something that's like half to 2/3 of the width of the table, or if it's a round table, half to 2/3 of the diameter, for example, like that might make sense. You know, you might even go a little bit oversized. So let's say you've bought like a really big, beautiful dining table, you might want to choose a light that's a little bit more of a presence. But I think that choosing a little tiny little baby pendant that is not meant for a dining area doesn't really make sense. Choosing these lights, they look weird, they look small because they look out of proportion proportion with the rest of the space. And that's ultimately why I think this design doesn't really actually work for most people. I feel like this is sort of similar to the tiny art trend. Do you remember when people would take like a really, really big wall and then they would just like intentionally choose a little tiny postage stamp to sort of stick on the wall, and they thought that was really, really cute? I think this is the same thing, but the lighting version, and I'm seeing a lot more of it. I think it's gonna fail for most people. I think it's not gonna work. It's also impractical from the fact that it ignores the functional use for what a light is for, which is it is meant to actually light a space, right? And it's meant to accomplish the tasks that you need to do in the space. So if you can't eat your, if you can't see your dinner because you got a little tiny light bulb over top of it, then I think that that's not really a good thing. It is meant to help you accomplish the tasks that you need to do in the home. Now, I will say that of course a dynamic lighting plan will really help. So yes, you might have sconces, you might have pendants, but you might have floor lamps and table lamps, and all that stuff is also going to do a great job of lighting the space. And I think it's also maybe a take on this, like, don't light the big light thing. I personally think that yes, don't just have the big light in the center of the room. Yes, a dynamic lighting plan is a good idea, but that big light still does have a practical use. I think people think that it doesn't, and therefore having a really tiny little baby light in the ceiling is good enough because, you know, we don't really use the big light anyway. And I think that's such a missed opportunity. The big light still has a function. It still does something, and it's also a great opportunity to do something really, really cool. And that is not what these are. So choose something that is a standard size that would make sense for the space, that's proportional, or even go a little bit oversized if you feel like you know that you have the room for it. I think that works a lot better than going for something too dinky, in my opinion. So I think this will fail for practical reasons and because it looks stupid. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be fitted carpet. I know you're thinking, but Nick, carpet's so out. No one has carpet anymore. Carpet's coming back because just when you think a trend has been left for dead, someone brings it back and goes like, wait a minute, let's dumpster dive for a second and see what ghosts of Christmas past we can bring back and see what's gonna make sense to bring back. Oh, right, carpet. Okay, I don't think carpet's evil. I don't hate carpet. Would I put it in my home? I probably wouldn't, but I would say this. Carpet does have some of a use case that is worth acknowledging, okay? Carpet is cheap. Generally, it's quite cost effective, especially if you're comparing it to something like engineered hardwood or real hardwood or whatever. It can be quite inexpensive, easy to lay down, as opposed to, you know, installs easy, as opposed to say something like tile, which is gonna be a lot more complicated. It's good for soundproofing, right? I think that soundproofing, sometimes people don't consider that being a real benefit, but carpet does a really great job of dampening sound. And, you know, if your house is really noisy, you got kids running around, whatever, carpet does a really good job of dealing with that. What else is carpet good for? Soft, so, you know, to step on, that's kind of nice. But in my opinion, there are other options besides budget. Well, budget, there are other budget options as well that, you know, we could go into that could make sense, that could be similar. Like, I mean, you know, laminate and vinyl and whatever. There's lots of different options that do compete with carpet in terms of price point. But I would say that rugs will accomplish a lot of the benefits around soundproofing and around comfort that are great to add on to a hard surface like tile or like engineered hardwood, that will make sense and accomplish some of the same benefits that you're gonna get out of carpet. But let's talk about some of carpet's downsides, because I think that's the main reason why I don't think it's going to do well. First of all, like, there is a general cheapness that we associate with carpet sometimes. And I think that's why, you know, people are trying to have fun with carpet in these luxurious spaces. And I just don't think it really makes sense in those spaces because it reads cheap to me. I'm always, every one of these spaces that I look at that's like very designer and very cool, and then they've got carpet, is I'm like, but it would just look, it would have just looked better had you done something different, you know? Like, so I think it doesn't really work for high-end design, which is where you're gonna see a lot of carpet being brought back. It's also like a rug can be washed. A carpet, a little bit more challenging, right? Like, yes, you can, you know, buy carpet things that you can clean your carpets and all the rest of it. But, you know, if it stains or it's something that, you know, you just can't get out and it becomes a real, like, you can deal with that with a rug. It's a lot harder to deal with that, I think, with carpet. So carpet overall, I think there's some cleaning maintenance that's involved there that can be really challenging. Yes, you can clean them, but it can be time consuming. And a lot of people just find that to be kind of gross. Like, it's not as easy to regularly get a deep clean as as you can with something like hardwood, where it's going to sort of resist bacteria and mold in a different way, you know, if you're dealing with vinyl or whatever, hard surfaces, and it's easier to mop a hard surface than it is, I think, to clean carpets on the regular. Some people, you know, if you have allergies, carpet can also trap a lot of allergens that can really set people off. A lot of people that do have allergies complain about if they stay at a place that has carpet, they just, especially if it's old carpet, it can be really difficult if you do have allergies. And I also think it's really important to acknowledge that some rooms work better for carpet than others. So I don't hate carpet in a bedroom, for example, or even a basement. I don't know, do I like it in a basement? I don't know. We're just gonna touch on bedroom. I don't wanna touch that other one. In a bedroom, I do see the appeal. Some people do like carpet in a bedroom because it's soft underfoot, but again, I feel like that's the type of thing that you can solve with a rug, but I do understand that it might make sense for some people in some rooms, especially if budget is a concern and you don't wanna go with sort of a cheaper laminate option or something like that. This one is very room specific though. There are some rooms that people are putting carpet in, like bathrooms, where we're dealing with moisture, we're dealing with mold, we're dealing with spills, we're dealing with stains, it's gross. And a lot of that is a real challenge, and I do see that in some of these trending designs, and I think that that does not make any sense. That is never coming back in my opinion, and if it does start to come back, people will very quickly remember that there are some really, really good reasons, usually due to hygiene and maintenance and cleanliness, that carpet just does not make sense in some of these spaces. So I don't completely hate carpet, but I don't really like carpet. And so I think this trend will die in real life. Okay, next up on my list is gonna be bookshelf wealth. Now, I need to be really careful with this one because people get very defensive about their books. The book people, the book talk people, the like, I get it, books are beautiful, okay? I don't always love all the open shelving that's attached to books, but people sometimes go off on me in the comment section if ever I say anything against books. I love books, okay? I love them, they're great. But bookshelf wealth is a different thing. So bookshelf wealth is this concept of basically showing off your wealth by how many books you have. And I think that y'all are not reading that many books. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there is something to be said for people don't read that much and they don't collect that many books. And books should be something that people, I think, accumulate over time. I think it's one of those things that if you like a book and you want to read it, buy the book and display the book. It's fine. You know what I mean? Get a bookshelf, that's fine. But this bookshelf wealth of almost cover every wall in bookshelves and just like get tons and tons of books, when it moves into trend territory, it's oftentimes not authentic. It doesn't actually feel like it makes sense for the person, because some of these people that have these, I just don't think you're a university professor that has this many books. Like, I know you kind of want that sort of vibe. You want that sort of dark academia. You want to pretend that you're living this life where you're doing all that. You're just like, you don't live in a library because you don't read that many books. And I think having a bookshelf where you put some of your books and you want to display your books, I think that's a wonderful thing. I think if you read a lot of books, I think displaying them is a wonderful thing. That's showing off your personality. That's showing off who you are. But now this has moved into a new beast. It's a new category where we're starting to see this as a way of showing off your wealth, I guess, and showing off an aesthetic that isn't actually true to who you are, but is instead following a trend. And so that is why I don't think this particular trend is here to stay, because I think the people that love books, that read a lot of books and display their books, have been doing that long before it was a trend, and they will do it long after this trend is over. Books are timeless. I totally hear you. I get that. But at the same time, I think the people that are chasing this trend inevitably will fall flat on their face because they don't actually read that much. And that this is almost books as decor, which sort of feels like you're cosplaying as that university professor that I mentioned. And that's just not who you are. So do something in your home that shows off your personality, that makes sense for you. And if you're not a reader, then don't get a bunch of books and display them. And so I think that's where I'm at with this one. It's the authenticity that's missing. And that's why I have a problem with this one, because I just don't think there's enough people that are going to practically use this trend in the right way. I think they are using it for show, to show off their book wealth, and not actually to practically use the books in their own life to show off how they actually live in their home. Okay, so that's it for today's video, you guys. I hope you really enjoyed that one. I'm gonna link here to a video on the top trends for 2025 that I actually am looking forward to. So this one is a little bit negative on some of the trends that are coming up or that are really hot at the moment, because I don't think they make sense. But if you like this video, feel free to go check out one where I'm a little bit more positive and I could talk about the stuff that I actually do love for this year. So I'll see you all on that one. Thanks, bye.